I never know what to do with my hands without a guitar holding on to it. We good? All right. Hey there, welcome to Tone Time with Tom here at JK Not Kidding Studios outside of Detroit, Michigan. And today I'm talking about guitars. Got 4 different guitars, 4 different pickups that we're going to be talking through, and I'm going to tell you which one is the best. If you like guitars, guitar pedals, synthesizers, microphones, studio equipment, make sure to give us a subscribe and a like. We really appreciate it. So today I'm talking about guitars. This is going to be a very interesting one because I know so much about all these things. I've been continually saying how much I know so much stuff about things that nobody cares about. Well, except for the select few of people like you. Thank you. Okay, so today I'm talking about these different guitars. I have 4 different types of guitars, 4 different pickups. I'm going to go through the differences on each one, the similarities, where I might grab one for the studio, and how they're going to react differently to these different amps that we have. So today, we have 2 of our favorite amps going. One of them on top there is a Gibson Minuteman from the mid-60s, I think a 66. It has the original speaker, but it has had some modifications, and if you DM me, I'll tell you what it is. That amp is set kind of dirty. The amp on the bottom is a 1967 Super Reverb, and you've seen us use that a lot here on these other videos. It's a great sounding amp, and if you're really paying attention, you can see it's a black panel chassis with a 68 drip edge cab. Little tidbit there. That one is set a little bit more clean with a little bit of reverb. So I'm mostly going to be getting amp tones today, but I will be using a few pedals just to have some variation in drive. So we have the Jext Telez Unidrive, which is a great overdrive that has been recreated by the wizards at Jext Telez, which are local to Detroit here. And then on the left, there is a Dizzy Tone fuzz, also Jext Telez. This is a great fuzz if you've seen our early video where I'm talking about this guy. And right here, I just have an amp switcher where I'm going between our 2 amps, the Gibson and the Fender. All right, so now we're going to start our shootout, and we're going to start with a P90 pickup since they were technically the first ones around. So right here I have a Gibson 330. Many of you might know this also as an Epiphone Casino. This was one of the few Epiphones that was more popular as an Epiphone model than a Gibson model, also more expensive if you're looking for vintage. This is a 1964 fully hollow P90 pickups, factory Bigsby, cherry red finish. Incredibly rare combination for that year. This is one of our most used studio guitars. Incredibly versatile. With the hollow body, you get a lot of fullness from that. But the P90 pickups, they're bright. They are kind of harsh in a way in the mid-range from that P90. And you're getting a lot of grind in the mid-range, but with the volume and the tone knobs, you can get a lot of different sounds. So what is a P90? Gibson came out with a P90 after World War II when electric guitar production started to happen again. It is a wide bobbin, so the wires are not as close to the magnets in the center. And we'll see that's different than our Fender over here. Typically P90s are said to be kind of snarly, more mid-range. I don't always disagree. It's really just based on your guitar, based on your P90 in general. These do have hum as they are single coils. So sometimes you gotta be looking out in your room what direction you want to stand for the least amount of noise. So if I want to say something here about the humbucker, should I say it now or should I say it later?
What do you want to say about the humbucker?
When humbuckers became common, they started becoming on budget-friendly guitars.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
As many of you may know, later on the humbucker came out, 1957 to be exact. We'll be talking about those in a minute. But once the humbucker came out as the top of the line pickup, P90 started to go into your budget-friendly guitars or student models. Les Paul Juniors, SG Juniors, and some of these jazz boxes with, different sets. All right, so what do I got? This is the Fender amp, clean. So this is the Gibson amp, a little dirtier. That is a lick. I don't know if I could get copyright for an E and D.
No, shut
Do you know that song? No, it's just like. We got our E. I'll go to the middle now. So the Gibson amp, it's a lot more fun to play. There's a ton of drive right there. It's only on about 5, but still a lot of gain. A lot of sustain, very full sounding. Each pickup position has a kind of a different way the mid-range and the low mid-range is responding. You can get into some of that Sabbathy territory if I were to stay up in the neck here, as you can kind of hear. So here's with the Unidrive. It's really interesting comparing the driven amp to a cleaner amp with drive. Both sound good, but they're different. The overdrive on the clean Fender amp, it's a little bit more controlled, I'd say. It's a tighter sound. There's not as much of that kind of fizz happening. But with the Gibson amp just kind of wide open, maybe has a lot more character, a lot more harmonics, but it's definitely pushing a lot more mid-range. So both of these sound good. It's just kind of what your preference might be. So gated or not.
Wow, that sounds wild.
Yeah, so that's with the gating. So here we have our Fender amp with the Jext Telez Distored V4. Really interesting setting with the gating. Okay, so some people might come into the studio here and not want to play this guitar because they'll say it's like a jazz guitar or something, because this was known by a lot of jazz guitarists to use this. But I don't think it sounds clean at all. It's quite a raunchy sounding guitar. Even with a low setting of clean, we had to bring the amp down just to clean it up a little bit. Anybody who's a Beatles fan out there would know that Lennon's rhythm guitar is not clean. It is quite chunky sounding with a lot of grit, and this is what that is. There is a reason that it has that. You get a little woofiness on the low end, I think also with this hollow body. If you're playing a loud amp in the room, you might get some feedback from this guy. So you could, I've had to tape it up at points, but it depends. You might like that feedback. It's just how you can control it. Cool with me. And then I go here, right?
Yep.
Okay. Alright, so the next guitar we have here is your classic Fender Telecaster. What could be more useful, more versatile than a Telecaster? You tell me. I don't think there is one. If I had to pick one for most things, I'd go with a Tele. Today we have a Nash T52. This is about 6 years old. Pretty classic setup. What it would have looked like if you would have bought one in 1951 as a broadcaster, or in 1952 as a Telecaster. These pickups originated on the Esquire, came out in 1950. And the difference between the P90 we just looked at, this is a narrower magnet, and there's the 5 or 6 individual. It's not.
It's funny to say 5 or 6.
I don't know, 5 or 6.
We have 5 fingers on the hand, so you're like 5. I mean,
Yeah,
6.
and there's actually 6.
Yeah.
You could use that take. I mean, I think I ruined it. So, all right. So this is the narrower bobbin. It's taller. You got your 6 magnets. The wire is closer to the magnets, creating just a brighter sound, whereas the wider magnet on the P90 is a little bit more mid-range, a little less brightness, but that's what the internet will tell you. I don't think P90s are anywhere short on brightness. So Esquire came out in 1950 with just the one pickup. The Broadcaster 51, the Telecaster 51, 52. You have 2 pickups here. And why do they look different? They are. One has a cover and one doesn't have a cover, but it used to. The original ones had a cover over that, so it would have looked very nice and clean, a big nickel chrome whatever it was covering, but people found out quickly you pop that thing off, ashtray. So most of those are gone forever, and they don't even put them on anymore unless you're buying some sort of custom shop model.
You got the cigarette holder up top, and then you got the ashtray on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got your cigarette up here if you're cool, and then you got your ashtray on your amp so you can be ashing it, you know. Telecasters are known for their kind of twangy, bright, spanky sound. That's what they're so great at doing. But you have so much versatility if you start to roll down the tone knob, your volume knob, pickup position, especially if we're getting into other Telecasters with different pickups. I mean, they really are super, super versatile. So we got our Fender amp. All right, next one. Got our Gibson amp here. This is just the amp. It's just that beautiful Minuteman. Got our Fender amp here with the Unidrive. Yeah. God bless, dude.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very even with my picking, but inherently when I get to the bridge, something just wants to go. Or you can edit out that wrong note, but you can totally leave that in.
Yeah.
Me saying that. All right, Fender Fuzzy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Wait, am I even on the right amp? Losing track. Distorted.
Go between the two amps again with this setting.
Is that fun?
Yeah, they're both super distorted, but they're very different sounding.
Yeah, and I'll go back to this.
Yeah.
Back to the Gibson now. With the fuzz between the two amps, I would say the Fender is a little cleaner and clearer sounding, a little more controlled. With the Gibson, it's kind of a lot more like a lot of low. I liked the Gibson amp more with the fuzz when I rolled the tone off, but when I liked the Fender with the tone wide open with this fuzz setting. Final notes, Telecasters are great. I don't know what else I can say. Telecasters just work. I mean, 99% of the time, if we're unsure what to grab first here, getting a Tele. There's just so much you can do. They really react well to your playing, as you could see on some of those clips. Your different drives, there's not a lot of mud, if any, and a lot of the, especially in the single coil side. You can have these different pickup positions. You can get it really plinky. You can get it really bright or more woolly. Got it all, really. So they came out in the early 50s, and they're still the same for a reason. Pretty fuzzy too. Alright, so the next guitar I have here is an early 2000s Gibson SG61 reissue, and we're talking humbuckers because they're pretty awesome. So humbuckers came out in 1957 on your Gibson Gold Top. They were the PAFs that are wonderful, and if you've played real ones, which I have recently, you can see as to why they're so coveted. And there was many iterations after that. You had your patent numbers, you had your T-tops. They all kind of sound a little different, but I mean, here's a hot take. They all sound great, but people go after the PAFs, but each one has a great sound. This one, being a 61 reissue, has those unpotted, which is also something really cool on humbuckers. If you're not sure, just give it a little tap. If you hear the tap on your pickups, they're unpotted, which means they are not dipped in wax. And see that little tap? I used to not like a lot of humbuckers when I was younger, playing certain humbucker guitars. They were too muddy, they were too, I don't know, they were just not that great. But I found out later on the unpotted ones are they're good ones. Why did they unpot them? Well, in the beginning they just didn't, and they realized as people started playing with more gain through the early 60s, you get microphonic feedback if you're too close to the amp. So they started dipping them in wax like Fender was doing, and you get less of that microphonic feedback, but you lose some of the dynamic. So if you're out there and you have unpotted pickups or potted pickups and you want to tell me which one is better, please do, but I'm going to say unpotted all day. So in that sense of nerdiness, you heard a little bit about this. Humbuckers are great. You get rid of your hum. I mean, that's the first thing. You have two coils in there, so they're canceling out that hum, but you have more power. You're pushing the amp a little harder. There's just a little bit more rounder sound as far as in the neck. You get a little bit more bite in the bridge. Some say there's maybe less high end. I don't know if I believe that. It just depends on your situation, the pickup themselves. That's probably enough.
Okay, cool.
Definitely went off on that unpotted thing, but that's like, that's huge actually.
Yeah.
All right. Fender here.
Beep it out with guitar feedback.
Okay.
Oh, did I swore just now, right?
Yeah.
No, have I sworn a lot yet?
No, it doesn't matter.
That's a funny thing.
I've been doing that. Or
That's
like with
funny.
just guitar noise.
Yeah.
I'd put over the... I don't know. I did in one of the videos.
Yeah, I don't remember that, I guess. I don't remember. I guess I do usually try to keep my language until I get really heated about things like potted or
Yeah.
unpotted pickups. That's funny. But yeah, I like that idea. Like a... All right, D chord. I love the middle position on humbuckers. Typically, if I'm going to EQ my amp or set my volume, I'm going to go to the middle and EQ and find my volume from there, and then whatever the neck and bridge sound like on their own, I typically love. That's just my thing. Same thing here. There's so much harmonic character on this amp. Every time we're doing this, I'm still smiling like an idiot when I hit that first chord with this cranked amp. So a lot of gain, but not necessarily a lot of sustain, which is interesting. So let's go back to this now. We got what we needed there.
Yep.
I think it's the Gibson with the drive. This is fun. The Gibson I was saying on the last clip, a lot of gain, but not a whole lot of sustain on the note. Maybe just because of the way the guitar construction is. But adding this bit of drive here, and now it doesn't sound like a lot more gain, but it's giving me the sustain I wanted on some of that single note stuff. It's like fizzling out when I change the pickup. Final thoughts. This guitar sounds great. It's got like a real shreddy kind of sound. I would love this for some sort of punk rock and roll sound where I don't want a lot of sustain. When I go to a fuzz pedal, I typically want a lot of sustain. So you could see in the beginning I was going for these notes and they weren't really giving me that, and I was confused a bit. But I would play into that for this guitar. Just crank the amp and find that kind of quick. I think it would sound best in a song where you don't want all that extra sustain, really just muddying things up. If you're playing fast, if you're playing either like fast licks or fast tempo wise, this would be a perfect sound for that because you don't want all that extra sustain, really. So great rock and roll, great punk rock, pretty much anything, which is why you see so many people using these. You can't take away sustain very well. So if you got a Les Paul, for example, and it's too much sustain, you're not going to make it sound like this. By adding the drive to a dirty amp, I can add the sustain. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here. SGs are always great. Like I said in the beginning, you just got to watch that headstock till. Otherwise, you're in a great place and your back won't be hurting at the end of the night. This is a Silvertone Jupiter, I believe. Maybe I should look that up first. Can you look that up? All right, so we got a unique one here. What is this? This is a Silvertone Jupiter. This is a mid-60s. It's got this really killer gold sparkle over the black. You might have seen somebody like St. Vincent playing cool guitars like this. These are silver foil pickups, often called gold foil, because they're the same thing, but they're either gold or silver based on really just the aesthetic. But it is a single coil. It is a different style than a Fender. It's a one long magnet. That's really the only comparison. If you look these up, there's so much variation on who made them and what they are. They're kind of muddier sounding. They're lower output typically. So what's kind of fun on these guitars with these pickups is you can turn your amp up to a different volume than you typically would have, like on a different guitar here, like a Fender, for example. When I've looked at this one, you might have your Fender on a 3 for a Telecaster for a clean, but with this, it's so quiet you end up needing to turn it up to 5 or 6 to get the same amount of gain. But what that's doing is now your power tubes are running hotter and you're going to get a different kind of sound out of your low end. So that's a fun thing with these when you're comparing amps to see how that sounds. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right, here we go on this. We got our Fender again. Am I in tune, I think? Here's the mystery knob. I'm just going to leave this knob open. I don't want to spend too much time with that middle. Gibson. It's a little squawky up there. It's kind of interesting. Fun guitar. Definitely a lot of harmonics with this driven amp. Not quite as bright, but very usable. A lot. You could kind of find a way in a mix really nicely. I don't really like this that much with the Fender here, but I like this part. Need a lick though. Am I drifting again out of tune, I think? That would help, I think. I don't think this is very accurate. Gibson with the overdrive here. Like that. All right, we got fuzz on the Fender. Just nothing.
Just stack.
Thank you. All right, so something's interesting there. Probably not enough output. That's cool. All right, we got our Gibson again. Some static. Oh yeah. When your amp sounds like that when you go to a gig, that's when you know you're done. This guitar is awesome. It's kind of woolly, so maybe bring your treble up, bring your bass down. But it is a cool guitar. There is kind of this staccato-y feel to it, likely because it's not resonating a lot with this type of trapeze system. We've used this here a lot for plinky stuff or things that we don't want a lot of sustain on. When I'm just jamming for fun like this, I tend to love those sustainy sounds, but really in a mix or in a recording, you're not going to use that kind of thing very often. It takes up too much space. So this guitar and some of the other ones would do really well for those things. All of these guitars have great sounds. Good, great, bad, whatever to somebody else. But finding what fits for you in your song and in your mix is really the most important thing. The output on these Silverfoil pickups here are quieter or less than the other pickups we saw, so the gain hitting the amp is just less. So inherently, by plugging in a Telecaster with a higher output versus this, you might have to bump your volume up a couple notches just to compensate for the same amount of gain. I think this is a lot of fun, this guitar, to play. It's definitely different. You're going to have to gain stage differently. If I were to really play any of these guitars, I would probably EQ the amp differently for all of them. I would set the gain a little differently for all of them. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Tone Time with Tom here on my favorite things, guitars. Had all these various pickups, P90s, Telecaster, Humbucker, Silverfoil. Which one was your favorite out there? I'm guessing your favorite was different than mine, and if it's true, then you're wrong. So come challenge me, I guess. But this is how we're doing things at the studio here. If you want to be a part of it, give us a DM, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.